Hello, everybody. Welcome. I'm Tricia Tuttle. I'm Artistic Director of BFI, London Film Festival, and it's so nice to see you here today. I have such a pleasure, and I'm going to make a confession before Keira comes out, so please don't tell her. Massive admirer, really huge admirer of Keira Knightley, not just because I think she's one of the great actors of her generation, but I also admire someone so much who's really grown up in intense spotlight with such intelligence and poise, consistently making really exciting choices in the roles she plays. I want to remind you a little bit quickly about what Keira's done, and be prepared to feel a bit inadequate, I think. So, you know, Keira came to the industry's attention with really eye-catching roles in 2001, The Hole, Nick Ham's film, shortly after with Bend It Like Beckham. And in Bend It Like Beckham, made by Gurinder Chadha, Keira and Parminder Nagra, who are the two leads in the film, really captured the imagination and interest of like a huge audience. So 6 million costs went on to earn nearly 70 million. And this film, you know, just to give you a little example of what a hard worker Keira is, she decided to play all her own football in the film. And the coach, the professional soccer coach who coached her, said that Keira could have been a professional footballer. So I think she is insanely talented. The year after Bend It Like Beckham, she was in Love Actually, Pirates of the Caribbean, and still just under 18. Further critical success followed quickly with her really wonderful role as Elizabeth Bennett in Pride and Prejudice, and she received an Academy Award nomination and also Golden Globe nominations for that role. The film was also the first time she worked with Joe Wright, who she went on to work with in Atonement and Anna Karenina. Atonement also earned her a BAFTA nomination. So many wonderful roles, but other notable work includes Mark Romanik's Never Let Me Go, which opened the London Film Festival in 2011, and also Imitation Game with Benedict Cumberbatch, which opened the London Film Festival in 2014. There's a theme here. She has worked with some of the industry's great directors, Joe Wright, David Cronenberg, Lynn Shelton, Lassie Hallstrom, Wash Westmoreland, John Mayberry, Saul Dibb, so many wonderful filmmakers. And she's an Olivier winner for her work in theatre. Still, she is only 33 years old. And this year, she has delivered one of the truly great performances as French writer Colette. Collette is she's an independent thinker, a radical woman of the early 20th century, and she really rewrote gender and social rules. So far ahead was she that we're still racing to catch up with her. And on playing that role, Keira said last night, introducing the film, that it made her feel like she could walk taller. And I think it's really fair to say that for many women, the work that she's done in the industry has made them feel like they could walk taller too. So please join me in welcoming Keira Knightley.
So great for the ego. Thanks.
Oh, really true.
I didn't win an Olivier, though. I wish I had, but I was only nominated. But it's fine.
I'll give you one.
There's time anyway.
Yeah, there's still time. There's still time. So we're going to speak for about 40 minutes, including some clips, and then throw open to the audience for 15 or 20 minutes. So start off, go back to the beginning, really obvious place to start, but you have come from a family of artists who work in film and theatre. So your mother's a playwright and your father's an actor. And really notably, you said at a very young age that you wanted to go into film.
Yeah, well, it was always theatre I wanted to go into, really. But yeah, when I was 3, apparently I asked for an agent. I don't know how I knew what an agent was. No, I mean, I did. I think my mum and dad had an agent and they were constantly phoning the house. And I didn't understand why, if they had one, there wasn't one phoning the house for me. So, yeah, I asked for one at 3 and I had to wait a really long time because I got one when I was 6.
Mean parents.
Mean parents, I know.
And was there ever, I know we all sort of see what our families do and that sort of shapes how we see the world, but was there ever any time where you thought, actually, this isn't what I want to do? No.
Yeah. No. I mean, no. Only when I was grown up and it suddenly became quite tricky for a minute or two, you know. But no, I mean, I think I've been incredibly lucky because literally since the age of 3, I've known exactly what I wanted to do, and that's been my one goal and my one sort of dream. Although it was always more theatre and not film, and the sort of film thing took me by surprise, really. Yeah. So and it has always been that. I'm constantly going, come on, come up with something else because this is really boring that you've only ever wanted to do one thing. And I keep asking myself, and I can't come up with anything else.
Professional football sounds like
Professional footballer, right, yeah. Well.
So I'm always struck in also looking back at your roles now, how consistently you've chosen sort of strong-willed, defiant women. How conscious has this been from the very beginning that you wanted to have these kind of roles?
It's been totally conscious.
So
absolutely, no, I mean, completely. And as soon as that I could sort of start choosing my own roles, as opposed to kind of just getting what I went up for and what I was fortunate enough to get from auditions, I was always led towards powerful creatures. Women who I wanted to be or wanted to kind of explore, and even in their frailty, even when you look at kind of films like Dangerous Method, somebody who's absolutely cracking apart, she has amazing power within that, So I've always wanted to be the lead, and so I mean a lot of times, it could have been more money to play second fiddle and play the wife or the girlfriend, but I've never wanted to do that. I'm the wife and the girlfriend at home, and you go, I when I'm playing, when I'm pretending, I wanted to pretend to be the boss.
Is there a role that Colette aside, because I want to come back and talk about that specifically, where you think, God, yeah, that woman was so inspiring to play?
I've instantly forgotten every single person that I've played. I'm not sure if it's like, I think Colette is the one that's inspiring. I don't think, Anna Karenina, what a part, but she wasn't inspiring. I think it's rare to get something like Colette, where it's the whole point of the film is that she's this extraordinary, powerful, I mean, she's proper inspiring. She's properly brave, but I don't think that I've played exactly that before that I can think of, but maybe I've just forgotten. I think quite often a theme that sort of runs through all of it is I've been very interested in gender, and that I never felt like I fitted into that very narrow image of femininity that mass culture allows. And I was always interested with playing characters who in one way or another are struggling against that kind of cultural norm. So that's kind of been a theme through a lot of the work in different ways.
Yeah, that makes sense. So just thinking about early roles in Bend It Like Beckham, I talked about the phenomenal success, and that must have been such I mean, not a surprise because it's a great film, but the hugeness
No, it was
of
a
that
total
global.
surprise. I mean, I remember when I did it, and I'd say to people the name of the film that I was doing, it's called Bend It Like Beckham, and people were like, that sounds awful. And it was really embarrassing. And even when it was coming out, you think, oh God, can't you change the name? I mean, so no, it was a total surprise. But then Pirates of the Caribbean was as well. I mean, it was based on a Disney theme park ride. Nobody thought that was going to be any good. And even us doing it, we're like, well, it seems quite fun, but a pirate movie hadn't worked for however long before that, So those two were complete surprises.
And that period, between those two films, really sort of propulsive couple of years of sort of taking you into a very global spotlight. How well do you think the industry sort of supports, or even at that time maybe supported young women in making?
I don't think it supports them at all, not even remotely. No, I think you're absolutely left to do your thing and to survive or not to survive.
Yeah.
There is no support.
What were the challenging and exciting things for you as an artist in that period?
I mean, I'm never going to have... Never say never. I don't think I'm ever going to have as successful a run of films. I mean, really, when I look back on it and I go, I did Bend It Like Beckham to Love Actually to Pirates of the Caribbean to Pride and Prejudice to Atonement to another two Pirates. I mean, it was... I don't want to say hit after hit after hit, but it was a pretty good hit rate, and I think it's funny being in the middle of that because it is a lot about luck. What I've learned since is that you can make really good films, and for whatever reason, that's not what the world wants at that particular moment, and therefore maybe they don't do as well as you expect them to. And for those films to all kind of work and come together and, be as successful as they were was extraordinary.
Yeah.
Slightly frightening to be in the middle of it, but extraordinary.
And such a range of critical and, cultural and commercial success. So with Pride and Prejudice, huge critical success, and you were nominated for an Academy Award. Can we watch a clip of that?
Sure.
Yeah, I think we can stay in our seats.
Okay, good.
Pride and Prejudice, please. Great character.
It's really weird. I haven't seen it since it came out, and that was about 30. Well, how long ago?
You haven't watched it? You haven't seen that scene?
No. I mean, I haven't seen any of it. No, but it's very strange. Oh, right. Oh, I remember that.
You at 17?
Me at 19. Okay. Yeah. Very good at telling people off.
Well, Lizzie is such a great character. I mean, what was it about her? A great literary rebel.
Yeah, I mean, I'd been obsessed with her since I think I was about 9. I had a doll's house that was called Pemberley. All the dolls were the Bennett sisters, and I used to write letters, teeny tiny little letters from sister to sister. You know, I mean, like, I was completely obsessed, and I'm dyslexic, so a lot of my mum would get me to listen to book tapes, but have the book in front of me. I mean, there was a point where I nearly knew the entire book off by heart. So it was a character, as for many people, you know, that I completely saw myself as, because the wonderful thing about that character and the terrifying thing about playing her is that everyone sees themselves as Elizabeth Bennett. You know,
what do you think that is? What is it? What is it about her that appeals to people?
I think it is that rebellious spirit, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, she's a fighter, isn't she?
Yeah.
From that, you know, and that kind of strength of personality. Yeah, but you know, and it was interesting because I think at 19, not particularly knowing how to form a character or how to build a character. Of course, what I know now is that that character was something that I had in me, and I knew so intrinsically that even though I didn't know how to actually do the work to create the character at the time, she was already there, which is, of course, why I could play it, you know. But yeah, there you go.
You worked with Joe Wright on that film. That was the first time that you guys worked together. How did he help you as a young actor to sort of find that character?
Shut your mouth, put your chin down. Was my main direction at most times. Are you pouting? Stop pouting. There will not be one pout in this movie. Okay. You know, I mean, I think my relationship with Joe, I think it's a funny thing when you're dealing with emotion. We all describe emotion in different ways, and it's a very happy accident as an actor when you meet a director who describes emotion in the same way that you do. And for whatever reason, Joe and me have that similarity in language in our description of emotion. So I think it's very clear when he's directing me what he wants, and very clear when I'm talking to him about what I'm trying to achieve. And that's not always the case with every director. You know, you can meet somebody who's lovely and you can both love the script, but for whatever reason, that language that you use is just different.
When that happens, how do you and a director get around it? What tools do you use as an actor to make sure you can do what you need to do?
Then I think you have to show what you mean, you know. And so then you have to, and again, that's all about sort of how you prepare a role, and you have to be very clear in your preparation of sort of going, okay, I can see it this way and I can see it this way, so I can kind of give you the options if we can't actually literally discuss it.
Yeah. And so working with Joe again, I'd like to also look at Atonement, because I think you know, the scene I'm going to show is one of my favourite scenes in British cinema of the early part of the year, early part of the millennium. We're in the millennium now. So can we look at Atonement and then talk a little bit about this one as well too? It's beautiful. It's really lovely. Have you seen that one since you made it? Giving you all kinds of treats.
Oh, the
today.
21-year-old's body. There you go, long gone.
Do you know what? I really wanted to see those two scenes close together, because I think it's really interesting that sort of language is so different, and you know, there's a lot there about the inadequacy of language in both of those scenes and how misunderstanding is possible.
Yeah.
But also I'm really interested in the sort of two different approaches to sort of English language and sort of cultural difference between those, and wanted to talk a little bit about well, first of all, about the sort of craft there with having to do something very different, sort of put on the accent in Atonement. How did you?
I think first, what I noticed from that, and what I suddenly, sorry to go on, but what I really realise about Joe's work is that what he loves in dialogue is speed. Yeah. You know, the speed of that scene with Mr. Darcy, it's like, and the speed of that one as well. It's, you know, and I think what I love about that is it's characters who think fast and speak fast. And a lot of the time in American cinema, it's a lot slower. It's a much more kind of pause, like, which is equally fabulous. But I think, you know, what I love about working with Joe, I love that speed of dialogue. And it goes even further in Atonement with the kind of very clipped RP kind of thing, which again, it obviously harked back to those 1940s films, which I knew a bit but hadn't properly kind of looked at. So a lot of the thing to do that was we were watching Celia Johnson and all of those kind of fabulous films from the 40s, from British cinema in the 40s, and trying to kind of get that, as opposed to putting an Americanism onto it and that American speed, to actually get that kind of English speed of speaking, which is really fast. I'm actually very conscious of it as I'm doing it right now. It's very quick, and I think so that was for all of us a very exciting part of Atonement, was working with the pace of it.
And the pace is so important in that scene, not just the speed at which you guys are talking, but the punctuation,
the pauses. Yeah, and I think that's always my thing on anything. You have to earn your pauses. Is like my main, because if everything falls, then suddenly nothing is given its proper weight. So and that's what Joe works a lot in. So it's quite rhythmic. It's like da 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 boom. So, but what is that moment of pause about?
And does he work with you? How much would he work with the two of you on that scene? Do you remember?
Really remember? No. I remember we did we rehearsed both for Pride and Prejudice and for Atonement. We had about 2 weeks rehearsal before, where we really went over it and over it and over it and over it and over it. And that particular scene we'd rehearsed a lot. Because again, to be able to perform anything at that speed, you need the synapses to be, you really need to know it. And again, that's sort of my preferred way of working, because I feel like you can play a lot. Once you really know something, you can play around with it a lot. Yeah.
And jumping ahead, I'm just thinking about, Anna Karenina, but we won't talk about that in detail, but A Dangerous Method, which you mentioned as well too. You made these both very close together. And I just wondered, particularly with A Dangerous Method, I've read that you said it was something where you felt like you had to take risks. Both of these films you had to work in different ways. How scary is that for you as an actor when you get sort of pushed outside of comfort zones?
It's scary, but it's also the point, because otherwise I'd get bored. Yeah. And so doing something like Dangerous Method, which was so out there and so overt, it was a lot of research. And I remember talking to Christopher Hampton about it before and going to his office and saying, okay, help, like what can you tell me about this character? And he just literally gave me a pile of books like that and went, find out for yourself. Brilliant. Okay, and it was amazing, because it was a subject that I didn't know anything about, and I got to delve into it. And it's one of the reasons that I love doing period films. Is it's the opportunity to educate myself about different periods of history, or in that case, mental health issues, and the birth of sort of psychoanalysis was fascinating.
And work with David Cronenberg.
Yeah, which was amazing as well, because with David Cronenberg, you do 1 or 2 takes. And I knew that about him before. Everyone sort of says, it's he wants it to be done in 1, and that's terrifying, because most people it's 6 or 7. You work with some, it could be 50. So doing knowing that performance has to be boom, ready to go, is really exciting. I get bored very easily, so I like working with people that like to work fast and kind of.
And do you, with a film like that where you're doing 1 take, do you get the opportunity to go and look at dailies to see how it's going, or do you just have to trust? You just have to trust the filmmaker who's good.
Yeah. I know a lot of people do go and watch the dailies, but I find that if I'm completely focused on what's going on the only thing that I can really do is what's going on in the interior, and the exterior will then take care of itself, but it has to come from inside, not from outside.
And I've also read that you like to do a lot of preparation and really get yourself ready for a role. Can you talk about what that process is like? Or is it different from film to film?
It's different from film to film, but depending on the character, sometimes you don't have a lot to go on. But I like to do as much as I've got time to do. So yeah, as much reading as possible around the thing, or, I've just done The Nutcracker, which is coming out, playing the Sugar Plum Fairy. There's not a lot of research you can do about the Sugar Plum Fairy, so in which case you sort of just let your imagination go. But if you are playing a period, if it's set in a particular period, I think you need to know the rules of that period. Then you can choose to break them. But it's nice knowing the kind of knowing the world that you're in.
Yeah.
It's imperative, really, to know the world you're in.
So just thinking about working in sort of period pieces versus contemporary pieces, is the prep process the same, or is it very different?
It depends what you're doing, you know. I mean, if you're doing like a comedy that's set sort of now, then no, you don't need, you need to know your person, you know, but you don't need to obviously research the times that we live in. Maybe a little bit if it's set somewhere that you don't live or whatever. Yeah, you want to kind of know your surroundings and all of that. So I'll always kind of make sure that I've checked in and kind of I know the world that I'm dealing with. But obviously that's easier if I'm doing something contemporary. But, you know, I've just done one based on a whistleblower called Catherine Gunn that was who was a GCHQ whistleblower. And that was fascinating because I knew nothing about the world, the intelligence world, and so delving into that kind of 2003 period and really looking at the kind of communications that have just been released to the public between Tony Blair and his cabinet at that time. So, you know, that's a time where you can go, wow, this is an opportunity to kind of learn something and look into something. But generally speaking, on modern day things, you don't need to do that.
And you've taken me nicely to another clip. You were surprised I wanted to show this, but I would like to show Laggies, or Say When, as it was released here, for three different reasons, because I think it shows you as a, I hope the clip I picked does to this, but shows you that you've got a really sort of great comic timing. You're also working with a female director, and it's a sort of contemporary piece, so I thought maybe we could take a look at this one.
Sure.
Okay. Can we see Say When, please? I like Laggies.
I like Laggies too, yeah.
She's another rebel.
She's another rebel.
Yeah,
she is
exactly.
another rebel.
Sort of
yeah.
out of place, doesn't quite know how she fits into the social group that she's in.
Yes, yeah. And having a bit of a pre-midlife crisis. Yeah, and going, yes, what am I doing with my life and where am I, and I don't fit in here.
And so that role, contemporary role, working with Len Shelton, was it the script, was it the story, was it the opportunity?
Yeah, the script really made me laugh.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, it was. And also working with Lynn, because I'd seen a lot of her work before and just loved it. Yeah. And her process of working, it was a teeny tiny budget. It was in... where was it? Seattle. Yeah. And, you know, and she's got this lovely, it's a crew that's like a family, and you kind of step into the middle of it. So it's, and because it's Seattle, they've got this film community, but it's very far away from many of the big film communities. So it's got a very special feel to it. And just an opportunity to work with her.
So you've worked with very few female directors. Is this because...
I counted 5.
Did you count 5? Okay.
Counted 5.
So do you feel that this is that roles haven't been offered to you from female directors? Is it things...
There are very few female directors,
No,
you know, I'm trying to think if I've turned any roles down from female. I have turned one role down from a female director. But, you know, yes, I would like to work with more female directors. We need more female directors.
Particularly at the top of the industry as well.
Particularly at the top of the industry. Yeah.
Are there female directors that you'd really like to work with, whose work that you admire?
Yeah, like Reed Morano. She's amazing. Philippa Lawthorpe. Is it Lawthorpe or Lowthorpe? I never know how to pronounce it. Lawthorpe?
Well, I'm not.
I don't know.
Lawthorpe.
Lawthorpe, yeah. I mean, 3 Girls. Thought was one of the most extraordinary things I've seen in ages. So yeah,
And
those
Handmaid's
two.
Tale.
Come on, guys.
Yeah.
Anyone?
Brilliant. And so, what is it like doing comedy? Is that challenging?
Yeah, I really don't like it. I mean, I know I do. I prefer doing drama. You see, the thing about comedy is that you're on a set and you do it the first time, and people laugh, and you're, oh, that's great, okay, great. But then you have to do it like 10 million more times, and they don't laugh, because obviously they've seen it already. And you're just like, is it still funny? Is it, you know, I mean, I think it's, I mean, obviously everybody knows it's such a skill to be able to do it, not in front of a live audience, because again, a live audience, you can feed off that. You can go, oh yeah, okay, I know where I'm pitching this. But it's really weird on film, and of course, if you change it to make it funny for the crew every single time, then by the time they cut it together, it can be not funny for the... So it's quite stressful, I found. Whereas, you know, when you're doing drama or tragedy, you know, you're digging in deep, and you're just... And I find it easier, weirdly.
So we talked about contemporary roles, and so you've been working very, very busily in the last year, not just Collette, but you've got The Nutcracker coming out, which love the wig. It's amazing.
What a wig, yeah.
And The Aftermath, which is going to come out early in the new year.
Yeah.
So really, really busy after a period of hiatus.
I had about a year off when I was pregnant because I didn't want to work when I was pregnant because I thought the energy of people trying to hide my bump was just something that I didn't want to be happening around it. Also, Imitation Game was coming out and it was on a massive awards push and there's a lot of stuff around that, and I thought I can't cope with doing a film and that at the same time. So I think there was about a year where I didn't do anything, and I went back to work when my kid was 4 months old. And then it's been trying to squeeze in as much as possible before I know she goes to school. Yeah. And then we're in London for, and we can't move around as much. So yes, I've been working a lot recently.
That's exciting, though. That's exciting for us. And it takes us to Colette, actually, which screened last night. It's a film I love, and I spoke about it in the intro. I saw it in Sundance, and I was really blown away by Wash's work on the film. It's such a beautiful film, but also the two performances, Dominic's and yours in the central role, really just terrific, rich performances, the way you guys work together. Can you talk a little bit, before we see a clip, can you talk about why you wanted to work in the film with Wash?
I love Still Alice. So yes, it was Still Alice that I just thought the nuances in it and the kind of the beauty of that central performance is just, I loved it. And then, just speaking to him about Colette, it had been a film that he'd been trying to make for, Wash, you're in the
16
audience.
Years.
Thank you. 16 years. And he knew the character inside out. And he was obsessed by her work, and the knowledge that he brought from 16 years of preparing to make a film was so huge. So I think I just went, okay, if somebody's that passionate about something and is that knowledgeable about something, then this is kind of a safe pair of hands to dive into this character with.
An incredibly radical woman. I mean, so radical now that more than 100 years ago, it just seems unbelievable in every way. I mean, she was showing a breast on stage when other people wouldn't show their legs. Was that something that also appealed to you, the sort of radical...
I think so. I think that she has a fearless... No, it's not fearless. It's a braveness. I think she probably was afraid, but, she just powers through it. And I think she was somebody that had a voice and demanded to be heard, and also within her sexuality, explored it without shame. And that's still very rare today, So I was honestly, when going back to what you said at the beginning, inspired. I find her inspiring. When you look at her entire life, morally, she's a little bit dubious occasionally. Stepson. Ooh, what was going on in the Second World War? Anyway, but she was a survivor, and I think I find survivors fascinating because some survivors, not all survivors, there's a moral ambiguity there, and I think she has that. And as an actress playing that person, it's delicious to kind of dive into that.
So the clip we're going to see is when Colette confronts Willie about the naming of the...
This is me telling somebody off again.
Yeah. It's a theme.
It's a theme.
Can you just give us a little bit about the story and where we are in the story?
The story of the whole film is about Colette's first marriage to a man called Willie, who was a very big celebrity of his day and a writer, and he took credit for her first 4 novels. And this is her going in demand, because at this point in the film, they are a celebrity couple. They were huge stars in the Belle Epoque, which arguably, was the cultural centre of the world. So they were the stars of the world in that day. And she is going in at this point saying, can I have my name on the book as well as yours, please, seeing as I've written all of these books.
Okay, great. Let's see the clip from Colette, please. Really fantastic film, great scene as well too. And I think what struck me in this scene as well too is that idea of really silencing women, and that's where he accuses you of having no sense of humour because you're standing up for yourself as well too. That's something that happens to women all the time. Can you talk about setting up that that particular scene? Can you remember working on that one?
No.
Or maybe step back more.
No, I think what was extraordinary about so a lot a lot of the, maybe not most integral, but a lot of the scenes between Willie and Colette are in that set, which was their apartment set. And what was great was that once we got in there, we almost did them in order, which when you're filming is very rare. So we got a real run at the level to, she leaves him. She has to leave him. It's good that she leaves him, but sorry, you haven't seen it, and she does leave him. So not in this scene, in a much more dramatic scene later on. But it was really nice getting that run, you know, so you knew where you were kind of pitching it. And I loved working with Dominic. I think he has such immense charm, and I think the thing about Willie in this is that, you know, it was very important to all of us that you understood why she was with him, because he does silence her, and he does literally take her words from her, and he is a shit, but he's a very charming shit.
And the film, it's over a 15-year period, is it, roughly?
I think so. I think I played 19 to 34.
Yeah. And so you do feel that real shift of her growing up, and he's a part of her growing up.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I think also the relationship worked when it worked, and then it didn't. And what I love about her is that she is never a victim in it, because she leaves him before she becomes a victim. And you know, it's about her finding her voice. And 19, 20, 21, 22, you are in a period of your life where you're discovering yourself, and you're discovering what you feel good about and what you feel bad about. And you know, and so it's sort of playing all of that into knowing who you are and knowing your voice and being able to stand up for yourself. So there was a great, I don't know, power in that kind of journey, you know.
And what things in Collette did you sort of identify with and go, okay, I really can, this is part of me?
I mean, all of it.
All of it,
yeah, I mean, pretty much all of it. And I think that's what's so interesting about it as a film, is that, and I don't think this just women, but I think that it was obviously more extreme in Colette's, in this story, but that idea of having your voice silenced or your voice taken away from you is one that I think most women identify with. And I certainly identified with it. But equally, there's a gender conversation within this as well. So the idea of what is masculine and what is feminine, and a lot of people described her as being quite androgynous. And I thought that was very interesting, because it's difficult when you actually look at pictures of Colette, because she's in this, you know, corset dress, and you go, how can that be boyish? So we worked a lot on the physicality of it, and actually I wasn't wearing a corset in any of it, so that when every other woman is sort of, you know, like this, I could actually sort of be slumped over, so you can physically kind of, you know, there's the famous thing about men take their space and women apologise for their space. We're doing a perfect example of it. You've got your legs crossed and your arms crossed. I've been like this, you know, whereas a man, I'm not doing it because I've got a skirt on, but would have his legs spread out and would have the famous male spread. So we sort of played with that physicality. So as she becomes more herself, she takes on a slightly more, if you like, masculine physicality.
And it feels so topical right now. I mean, it takes a lot longer than a year to make the film, but obviously everything that's happened in the last year and the sort of sense of righteous anger and positive anger. But I love the line in the film, and I'm not sure whether it's Colette's line or whether it's Wash's or Rebecca's wonderful line, but the hand that holds the pen writes history.
Yeah, I don't know whose line that is. It's Wash's line. It just went like that.
Yeah. But it feels so right on to what we're talking about in the industry right now.
Yeah, you know, yes, it does. And I also think, look, that because we live in a male-dominated society, and as we've been talking about before, because our directors are predominantly male, you really, as a culture, we explore the male identity. I think, I mean, as a woman, I feel like I know the parts of men that I could never know. You know, I understand that because I've seen art about it, and I've seen films about it, and I've seen theatre. We're really given a very, very narrow view of what it is to be a woman. And I think culturally we really have to look at that, and we really have to explore women in all of their complicated whole, not in just a part. And that's what I loved about Colette. I feel like there's a whole complicated, wonderful person there. And when I'm looking for roles, that's what I want to see, because that's what I identify with. I don't identify with just the supportive wife or just the supportive mother. I want to see a whole picture. And I think that's what's exciting about this film.
I agree. Let's open to the audience, take some questions. We've got mics to come around, so can we bring the mics to the front? We'll take a question here and then queue up another question somewhere in the middle. This guy. If you get the other mic to this gentleman.
Hi. I'd like to say what a fantastic film Collette was last night.
Oh, thank
Thoroughly
you.
enjoyed it. Out of all the roles you've played, which would you say was your most challenging and that's given you the most satisfaction?
I mean, Colette would be up there. But actually, no, challenging, I think actually Anna Karenina. Because it was really hard. Because it was it's such a it was so complicated to make, and the level of what she was dealing with, and therefore where I had to go and hold that kind of emotional place. I think that was probably the most complicated one.
Thank you.
Hi, Keira.
Hello.
Hi, I'm here.
Where? Oh, hello. It was you were echoing everywhere.
I was really touched when you talked about being dyslexic and your mum helping you find this way to manage it. And also just curious about how that affects you in terms of when you're learning roles or learning scripts. And also as a mother, what has she gifted you that you are carrying through to your motherhood?
Dyslexia and how I have to learn the whole script before I start a film. So because last minute rewrites I find very, very difficult, because literally reading them and processing them, although I can do it, I still find very difficult, and it makes me feel very anxious. So I find the more I know a script beforehand, the more time I have literally with the words beforehand, then I'm fine, but it does take me probably more time than it takes other people. What has my mother gifted me? Boy, what has my mother gifted? I mean, fucking life. You know, apart from life. She's a very strong woman, my mother. She has a very strong voice. She's never apologised for it. I think that's what she's given me.
Thank you.
We've got a question here and then just here in the middle.
Yes. Hi, Keira.
Oh, no, again, I don't know where you are.
It's
You're there, okay.
Yes. So last night I saw Colette, which had a very lasting impression on me, because it left me a bit confused in terms of, I thought that today we've come so far when I look at all the people around me in terms of, not just women, but gender rights and gender groups' rights. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I also thought of what's going on in such huge parts of the world, be it Africa, Middle East, or even in the Western world. So where do you find Colette's relevance today? Have we come far or have we not?
Big question.
Good question. I wish I could properly answer that. But have we come far? Yes, of course there's been progress. In certain parts of the world, of course there's progress. In certain other parts of the world, there has been far less progress. I think even in our Western societies that we celebrate for being so progressive, we still haven't come that far. So I think progress is always inch by inch. I think it's slow. I think it's very difficult. But I think all you can do is keep knocking at that door and keep bashing it down. And inch by inch, we will hopefully move forward.
Hi there. Sorry, I'm over here.
Thank
Hi.
you. It's
Hello.
tricky.
Yeah, I know. I look shorter than I actually am. It's got
No,
long...
you don't. You look very tall.
Oh, thank you. Sorry. What protections do you put in place for yourself to make sure that you don't become too emotionally attached to the character that you play after a film? So once you're finished with the film, you kind of tuck it away. And are there any scars?
No, there aren't any scars, thank God. No. Anna Karenina was very particular because I really felt like I took her home at night, and that wasn't a particularly pleasant thing to do. Generally speaking, that isn't the case. And once I finish a film, it really does go cut, and it's almost like it's like a birth. It's, you know, it's really like the whole thing just goes woof, and that's it, and that's done. And I think partly because, you know, that's also the moment where I have no control over it anymore. You know, I have control on the day, and I can have the discussions, and I can try my absolute best, and I can do the preparation beforehand. But ultimately, as soon as I'm finished, you have to hand the whole thing over to the director, the editor, and you kind of you have to then accept what happens to it. And sometimes they elevate it, and sometimes they understand, and sometimes they lose it. And you kind of have to be at peace with that. And I am. So I feel like there's a nice kind of, and now on to you. You know, yeah, you hand it over.
There's a question here in the middle, and then one over here, 2 microphones.
Got you. That's easier. Up there is easier.
Woo.
Yeah, hello.
Hello. First of all, we love your films.
Thank you.
Especially my wife, who, in fact, my favourite is Love Actually, and I did propose to her in the style of holding up the cards at the door.
Amazing. Good for you. Nice one.
Just wanted to score some points by mentioning that.
Well done.
Also, she won't like me saying this, but she was your hands in Colette writing.
Were you?
She was
Brilliant.
your hands writing the calligraphy.
Amazing. Do you know, I've actually been asked about your beautiful handwriting
There you are.
yeah, all saying, was that yours? And me saying, no, but it was yours.
Sorry if I've spoiled it for everyone now, but
Yeah.
no. So basically, I got that by the way. My question is, if you could play any role outside of your comfort role or any type of different genre from far-fetched from the normal genres you're in, what would you choose?
I'm always looking for a sci-fi.
Really?
Yeah,
Cool.
but it's got to be a good, weird sci-fi. I still haven't found it
Which
yet.
involves some writing that you can't do.
Clearly,
yeah?
yes, wonderful handwriting.
She can be your alien hands.
Great.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Great. I love Never Let Me Go, by the way.
Hi, Keira. I love you.
Okay, I've got you. Okay, yeah, hello,
And
thank you.
I want to ask, do you think there are any similarities between you and Colette?
Any similarities between me and Collette?
Yes.
I would like there to be more similarities between me and Collette. Yeah, I mean, yes, no, actually, that's my answer. I mean, yes, of course. I think that's what makes every wonderful character is hopefully like you watch them and you see parts of yourself or parts that you aspire to be, or it makes you understand yourself and the world around you in a different way. And that's what I felt about playing Collette. But I would like to be more like her.
Thank you.
Microphone here, and then there's someone who's had their hand up. Can we get the mic to the person in the middle, in the back, please?
Hey, hello. Hello, I'm from China, and you're seeing from Atonement when you dress a very beautiful, fabulous green dresses in that scene. It's like really popular in China. Every time if people post a picture of that, it will like engage huge retweets of that. So I was wondering, so from all of your films, which scene is your favorite?
What dress?
Which scene?
Oh, which scene?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a hard question. Ooh. There's one in Collette where I get when I actually leave, where I really, I mean, talk about a telling off, where I really get to tell him off. I think probably in my recent memory, that's been my favourite to play.
Brilliant. Back middle.
Hi, Keira.
Okay,
I'm
Hello.
here over here. I just wanted to ask, how do you manage your role as a mother with obviously your professional career, and I'm sure you don't stay in the same location that often, but how do you balance both aspects? Because I think last night you mentioned you didn't take the role for a year, the Collette role for a year, because you weren't sleeping.
Yeah.
And how? I mean, how do you manage that?
How do you cope? I'm really lucky. I can afford really good childcare. I have no, but you know, I mean, like actually, there's a serious conversation there. I'm super lucky because I can, and we have an amazing nanny, and she travels with me at the moment. And my husband also has massively put his career on hold, and has so that we've kept ourselves together as a family unit because that's what felt right for us. My mum has come over, my dad has flown over. I mean, our entire family has stepped in at a moment's notice when suddenly the shit has hit the fan and plans have changed and, you know, all the rest of it. So it literally takes a village. And I'm very, very lucky to have my village.
I think someone has a mic. I don't know who.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi. Dr. Stacy Smith, I got to be at a panel, so I'm going to make this quick.
Okay.
I created the inclusion writer, and I'm a co-author of the language.
right.
You have recently publicly said that perhaps you're interested in having inclusion criteria.
We are working. I am currently working on that.
Okay, I would love to hear more. Thank you for doing that.
Okay,
That's
fine.
it. Thank you.
Amazing. Okay, so there's a mic here, and then we'll get to you. I don't know who has the mic.
I don't know who has the mic either. Stand up and do a dance. There you are. Hello.
Hi. Yeah. So my question is, we're both film students. We're just starting out. What advice would you give to somebody that's like starting out in the industry?
Oh.
It's quite
Perseverance, actually. Look, a lot of it is about luck. Unfortunately, men have more luck than women, so you are going to need a lot of perseverance and a lot of luck. But it is possible. And so therefore, my advice to you would be, keep fucking going.
We've got time for 2 or 3 more questions. So can we go to the guy in the red shirt, please? Because he's had his hand up. And if there's a mic, yes, great. Back there in the back corner. First, go ahead.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
Hi, Keira. You're my favourite actress ever.
Oh, amazing. Thank you.
And to be here is a huge thrill for me, so thank you so much for your wonderful career.
Oh, thank you.
I would like to ask about my favourite of your roles, which is Anna Karenina. Originally, it was meant to be much more of a traditional and less theatrical telling. Mm-hmm. Please, may you just tell me a little bit about that process and what that felt during filming for it to be literally the world being your stage?
Yes, it was meant to be a naturalistic telling of Anna Karenina, and they realised that the cost would be double the budget that we had. And so Joe Wright went away and went, where can we film it and how can we film it so that we can bring it in on budget? And he came up with this insane kind of creation of the world all happening in this theatre and taking naturalism out of it altogether. If we couldn't afford it, then what was the point in doing it at all? So therefore, we'd create our own world. And I remember him pitching it to me and me standing in his office, and he just had all of these drawings of this theatre. And he said, and by the way, basically we're going to do a lot of it through sort of interpretive dance. And I think I went, oh, fuck. Okay. And so we did. I mean, I loved it. And I'm still unbelievably proud of that film. And I'm unbelievably proud of it because there is literally nothing else like it. It was very, very hard to make because of that. But I think it's an extraordinary thing. So I'm very glad that it's your favourite.
Thank you very much. I will write that sci-fi film for you, I promise.
Okay, yes, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Question here.
Hi, Keira.
Hello.
Hi. I have a quick question. Are you generally open to a lot of the innovation that is happening right now? For example, short form series, for example, choose your own adventure movies, or in general, just content for streaming platforms. Do you see yourself going there, or will you more stick to the feature-length films?
I definitely see myself going to TV series. Yeah, because, I mean, who knows where drama's going to go, but it does seem to all sort of be going in that way. And I also think, it's an amazing thing when you can really delve into the complexities of storyline and character because you've got enough time to be able to do that. So, yeah, I'm totally interested in doing that. As far as, choose your own adventure, you see, to me, who makes that just seems like a lot of work. And that possibly scares me.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You can give the mic to the person in front of you. That'll be our last question, and we've got one ready here. On this side, he's ready.
Hello.
Hello. So I just saw Collette today, this morning. It was excellent, thank you.
Thank you.
My question is, what is the question that you never ever want to hear again in interview setting?
That's a good question.
And at the same time, is there maybe an aspect of your process that isn't asked about enough, but you would love to elaborate on?
Oh, Oh, that's a good question as well. What's the question that I never want to hear again is probably, it's less of a question and more of a statement. It's like, so, another period movie. Yep. So that's probably the one that is tricky. It's also because it always assumes that they're all the same, and I see them as different. I never understand why just because one is in a dress and another one is in a dress, that makes it the same movie. I mean, I don't pass somebody in a street who's wearing a pair of jeans and assume that we have the same life because we're both wearing jeans, you know. So that's probably my other one. And then what's interesting in selling a film is that you so rarely talk about your work. And so this has actually been, I actually don't know really how to talk about my process or talk about my work really, because I do it so rarely. So I think just the opportunity of things like this where you're actually talking about your work, which is obviously the thing that I spend a lot of my time thinking about and doing, is very nice. So I suppose what I'd love is just more conversations about the actual work by people who might be interested in it. It's amazing.
We are interested, thank you.
Thank you.
Last question with the mic.
Oh, gosh, okay. Hi, Keira. I just had a quick question. You mentioned that you started off really wanting to do theatre and how you were trying to get as much sort of work in now before you sort of settle maybe a bit when, you know, obviously your child goes to school. I wonder perhaps if then that would be an opportunity to explore more theatre. Is that something that you're interested in? Because I know you did theatre as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've done 3 plays. Yes, it is. The last piece of theatre I did when my daughter was 4 months old. I was playing Teresa Rakan. It was a terrible idea. It was not because Teresa Rakan is not brilliant, but just after you've had a baby, I don't think you need to be playing a psychotic maniac for 3 hours a day, 8 times a week. You know, it was just... So yes, I will definitely do theatre again, but possibly not if I ever had another baby 4 months afterwards playing a psychotic lunatic. But maybe another psychotic lunatic at a point where I haven't just had a baby as well.
Keira, thank you very much. But before we close, I just want to say, is there a sort of dream role, maybe a dream person that you'd love to play?
Oh.
No?
No. I mean, probably. I mean, it's got to be Josephine Bonaparte, hasn't it? Fuck yeah.
Wash, next film.
Yeah, right.
Well, thank you so much for being here. It's been a real pleasure for us. And congratulations on the film. Urge everyone to see Colette if you haven't seen it yet. Thank you.
Thank you.